in the quiet spaces beyond the well-trodden paths of Middle-earth, where shadows mingle softly with light, and ancient songs drift like whispers on the wind. There lie realms unseen, and forces rarely spoken of. This chapter invites you to step gently into those hidden corners, places where time folds, and the ordinary gives way to the eternal. Here, in these forgotten wilds and secret groves, dwell beings whose nature stretches beyond mortal understanding. Among these enigmatic figures are two whose lives and legacies seem to move on different planes entirely. Tom Bombadil, the oldest living spirit tied to the very pulse of the land, and the Witch-King of Angmar, the dread lord of the Nazgul, whose shadow casts a long, chilling pall over Middle-earth. At first glance, these two could not be more opposed. One sings with the joyous breath of life, the other stalks with the silence of death. Yet, somewhere beyond sight and sound, their paths crossed in a secret meeting, an encounter as puzzling as it is profound. To understand the significance of this meeting, we must first attune ourselves to the vast cosmological tapestry Tolkien weaves, one where light and darkness do not simply oppose, but are interwoven strands of a greater pattern. This is not merely a story of heroes and villains, but of forces ancient and vast, whose interplay shapes the fate of the world. As we begin, we pause to reflect. What hidden threads connect such seemingly irreconcilable beings? And how might their silent dialogue alter the course of Middle-earth's deep history? This gentle unfolding will carry us forward into a deeper exploration of mystery and meaning, where every shadow and song holds a secret. The next chapter will draw us closer to Tom Bombadil himself, his nature, his mystery, and the role he plays as the oldest, being within the ever-turning wheel of Middle-earth. We step gently from the hidden corners of Middle-earth into the presence of Tom Bombadil, a figure unlike any other. Known as the oldest being, Bombadil exists at the very foundation of the land itself, yet he defies easy explanation. Tolkien's texts offer only tantalizing glimpses of his nature, a being untouched by the lust for power, sovereign over his small domain, singing the world into harmony. To truly understand his place, we must move beyond mere description and listen to the rhythm of his existence. Bombadil's origin is steeped in mystery. Some see him as a personification of the natural world's spirit, an embodiment of the earth's timeless essence. Others suggest he represents something primordial, a force that predates the shaping of Arda, standing outside the struggles for dominion and control. His name, a melody in itself, suggests a deep connection to song and creation. This ties to Tolkien's broader mythos, where music weaves the universe into being, and Bombadil's voice seems to carry the echo of that primal harmony. Perhaps the most astonishing aspect of Bombadil is his immunity to the Ring of Power. While the One Ring ensnares and corrupts almost every soul, its influence falters and falls away in his presence. This immunity is not a matter of mere strength, but a profound indifference. He neither desires nor fears the ring. It is as if the very concept of domination lies beyond his realm. This sets him apart sharply from all other characters, especially the Witch-King, who is bound irrevocably to the ring's dark will. Tom Bombadil's relationship with the land around him is intimate and alive. The forests, rivers, and hills respond to his song as if he is their heartbeat made manifest. He is both guardian and friend to the creatures that dwell within his borders, and his presence stabilizes the ancient balance of nature. Yet he is also a figure of paradox, joyous yet inscrutable, free yet confined to his domain, powerful yet seemingly unconcerned with power. This chapter also introduces the motif of song and language as fundamental forces, tools that shape reality rather than merely describe it. Bombadil's speech is not casual. It is a form of ritual and magic, one that binds and orders without violence. His songs are soft ripples on the vast ocean of Arda's history, gentle but enduring. As we deepen our understanding of Bombadil, subtle questions emerge. If he is so removed from the struggles of power, why does he engage at all? What compels a being so ancient and sovereign to respond to the creeping shadow spreading through Middle-earth? These questions beckon us onward. The next chapter will focus on the Witch-King of Angmar, the dark mirror to Bombadil's light, exploring the origins, powers, and tragic cost of a being bound to shadow and fear. We leave the ancient, life-giving presence of Tom Bombadil and step into the shadowed realm of the Witch-King of Angmar. Where Bombadil sings with the breath of the earth, the Witch-King moves in silence, wrapped in dread and despair. His story is one of transformation. From mortal king to immortal spectre. From a bearer of hope to a vessel of darkness. Understanding his nature is essential to grasp the significance of the secret meeting we follow. Originally a great king of men, the Witch-King was drawn into the power of the rings of men, crafted by Sauron to corrupt and enslave. Through this fateful gift, he became the foremost of the Nazgul, the ring-wraiths, servants bound eternally to the Dark Lord's will. The rings granted unnatural longevity, but at the cost of his mortal form, his identity dissolved into a shadow, neither alive nor dead, and utterly enslaved to the One Ring. This transformation embodies Tolkien's theme of corruption through power. A tragic exchange where immortality is bought with the loss of self, and service to darkness replaces freedom. The Witch-King's story is a cautionary tale of hubris and downfall, a figure caught in a covenant that erases agency and replaces it with dread, purpose. Yet, despite his terrifying role, he is not merely a monster. He retains remnants of his former self, a strategist and leader with a will shaped by centuries of suffering and ambition. The Witch-King's role in Middle-earth is deeply political as well as metaphysical. As the Lord of Angmar, he sought to destroy the northern kingdoms of the Dunedain, spreading terror and shadow as tools of conquest. His presence signals the creeping entropy that threatens to unravel the fabric of Middle-earth, a darkness that seeks to undo order and impose despair. What makes the Witch-King a compelling counterpart to Tom Bombadil is this stark opposition. Where Bombadil is bound to life and rootedness, the Witch-King is unmoored, bound to shadow, and relentless pursuit of domination. Yet, both are inexorably tied to the same cosmic currents of fate and power. The Witch-King's servitude to the ring parallels Bombadil's freedom from it, revealing different faces of power's cost. This chapter explores the Witch-King's tragic cost, the loss of identity, the price of servitude, and the burden of eternal shadow. It also introduces the political and theological implications of his existence, a heresy against the natural order that Bombadil embodies. The contrast sets the stage for their secret meeting. What could drive a being so steeped in shadow to seek dialogue with one so utterly free? We end by questioning the nature of their encounter's motive. Was it a parley, a challenge, or something more subtle? How could these opposed forces find a moment of convergence in Middle-earth's deep history? The next chapter will explore the cosmic and symbolic framework that underlies this opposition. The deeper duality of nature and shadow, freedom and bondage, and how these themes resonate throughout Tolkien's legendarium. We now turn from the stark figures of Tom Bombadil and the Witch-King of Angmar to consider the broader cosmic duality that frames their secret meeting. A duality woven deeply into the fabric of Middle-earth itself. This chapter invites us to listen to the subtle music of contrasts, nature and shadow, freedom and bondage, song and silence. These opposing yet interwoven forces resonate not only within these two beings, but throughout Tolkien's entire legendarium. Tom Bombadil embodies nature's eternal pulse. His realm is a small green domain where trees sway, rivers hum, and the earth breathes with timeless rhythm. He is the personification of freedom, bound neither by power nor ambition. And his songs ripple gently through the world, weaving order and harmony without violence or coercion. In Bombadil's presence, time seems to slow, and the burdens of fate lighten. In stark contrast, the Witch-King is the shadow incarnate. A figure born of corruption and enslavement, his very existence is a denial of natural order, a twisted echo of mortality distorted by the ring's malice. Where Bombadil's song is life-affirming, the Witch-King's silence smothers hope and breeds despair. His footsteps bring ruin to ancient kingdoms, and his presence darkens the skies. He is the embodiment of bondage, a servant to a dark mandate that erodes freedom. Yet, these forces are not merely opposites locked in eternal conflict. Tolkien's mythic vision suggests a more complex dance, one where light and shadow shape and define each other, where entropy is a necessary counterbalance to order, and where fate weaves all into a single, unfolding tapestry. This interplay hints that the meeting between Bombadil and the Witch-King is not simply a confrontation, but a ritual of balance, a moment where the world's deeper harmony must be acknowledged. This chapter also invites reflection on how Tolkien uses landscape and atmosphere to symbolize these forces. The old forest's vibrant wildness and the Barrow Downs' haunted silence serve as liminal spaces where nature and shadow touch and mingle. In this liminality, the meeting's deeper meaning becomes more accessible, suggesting that neither force can exist without the other. As we explore this cosmic duality, a gentle question emerges. How do beings so vastly different communicate and negotiate without destroying one another? What rules govern their engagement, and what is the moral price of maintaining such a balance? These questions guide us toward the mechanics of their interaction, which the following chapters will reveal. The next chapter will place the secret meeting in its historical and political context, illuminating the timing and stakes that brought these worlds into collision. As we move deeper into the unfolding story, we now situate the secret meeting between Tom Bombadil and the Witch-King within the intricate web of Middle-earth's historical and political timelines. Understanding when and why this meeting took place offers insight into its profound yet subtle significance, revealing how moments of quiet parley can ripple through great ages. The world of Middle-earth, though ancient and mythic, is governed by events and shifts in power that follow their own rhythms. The rise of the Witch-King as the Lord of Angmar coincided with a time of increasing darkness, a spreading shadow threatening to engulf the northern kingdoms, and unsettle the fragile peace that remained after the last alliance. Meanwhile, Tom Bombadil remained a steadfast guardian of his own realm, seemingly indifferent to the outside turmoil, yet attuned to its movements. The timing of their encounter is not recorded in any explicit text, but clues within Tolkien's writings suggest it happened during a crucial juncture, when the forces of shadow were pressing ever closer to Middle-earth's heart, and the ancient powers began to stir in response. This meeting, therefore, is not an isolated event, but a convergence point shaped by necessity and cosmic design. Politically, the Witch-King was engaged in campaigns to undermine and destroy the remnants of Arnor, seeking dominion over the north. His actions threatened not only human kingdoms, but the very natural order that Bombadil protected. Yet, rather than outright conflict, this meeting hints at a moment of negotiation, a rare acknowledgement of mutual recognition between two vastly different powers. The motive behind such a parley remains enigmatic, for Bombadil, who shuns the ambitions of rulers and the temptations of power, to engage suggests that the Shadow's encroachment had reached a threshold that could no longer be ignored. For the Witch-King, steeped in darkness and bound to Sauron's will, seeking out Bombadil might have been a strategic act, a bargaining gesture, or perhaps an acknowledgement of limits even his terrible power could not breach. This chapter also explores the political atmosphere of the time, the fragile alliances, the brewing wars, and the spiritual tensions that set the stage for this secret encounter. It introduces the delicate dance of power that defines Middle-earth's balance, where violence and diplomacy intertwine beneath the surface. As we close this chapter, we are left with pressing questions. How did these two beings communicate across such vast differences of nature and purpose? What language or ritual bridged their worlds? And crucially, what was at stake in this meeting, beyond what is openly visible? The following chapter will delve into the mechanics of their communication, the language, rituals, and symbols through which powers converse beyond mortal understanding. As we move beyond the when and why of the secret meeting, we turn our attention to the how. How do beings as vastly different as Tom Bombadil and the Witch-King of Angmar communicate across their immense divides? Of nature and shadow, freedom and bondage. This chapter invites us to explore the subtle, often hidden languages and rituals that govern such cosmic dialogues, where words are not mere sounds, but threads woven into the fabric of reality itself. Tolkien's legendarium is suffused with the idea that language holds power. The very universe, according to the mythos, was sung into being by the Ainu's music. A cosmic symphony where sound and meaning shaped existence. This suggests that for beings like Bombadil and the Witch-King, communication is less about conversation and more about ritualized exchange, a dance of wills and essences carried by words, song, and symbols. Tom Bombadil's own speech is an example of this. His voice is a form of creation, a song that stabilizes and orders the natural world. When he sings, trees listen, rivers pause, and the earth itself seems to breathe in time. His language transcends the mundane. It is a ritual, a shaping of reality through cadence and melody. This use of song as power is ancient and profound, a reminder that in Tolkien's world, language is magic. The Witch-King's communication, by contrast, is shadowed and formalized. As a ring wraith, he, is bound by dark covenants and rituals that twist words into instruments of fear and command. His voice, when heard at all, carries weight and menace, often veiled in ancient curses and oaths. His rituals reinforce his servitude to Sauron and bind him further into the web of shadow. Yet beneath this menace lies a structured language of power, carefully calibrated to maintain dominance and control. When these two beings meet, their exchange is unlikely to be straightforward dialogue. Instead, it likely unfolds through layered rituals, symbolic gestures, coded words, perhaps even silent songs or shared glances that carry meaning beyond mortal comprehension. These rituals would respect boundaries, acknowledge power, and set terms without breaking the fragile balance between them. The chapter also considers Tolkien's broader use of ritual throughout Middle-earth, oaths sworn by elves, bargains struck with dwarves, songs that heal or bind, and silent understandings that transcend speech. These examples illustrate how deeply language and ritual permeate the world's workings. At the heart of these exchanges lies a price: the moral and metaphysical cost of speech and covenant. Every word spoken in such contexts is a binding act, carrying consequences that ripple through fate and time. This weight underscores the gravity of the secret meeting and the delicate dance both participants must perform. As we conclude, we are left wondering about the specific rituals that might have been enacted during this meeting. What songs were sung or unsung? What oaths spoken or left unspoken? These questions gently lead us to explore the bargains and boundaries struck in their parley, the subject of the next chapter. In the realm of cosmic powers, meetings are rarely without cost. When ancient beings such as Tom Bombadil and the Witch-King of Angmar convene, their parley is governed not only by words and rituals, but by bargains, delicate balances of trust, concession, and sometimes betrayal. This chapter explores the nuanced terrains of these bargains, revealing how power exchanges impose moral and metaphysical boundaries, and how such negotiations shape the very fate of Middle-earth. From our earlier chapters, we understand that Bombadil embodies freedom, rooted in natural order and untouched by desire for dominion. The Witch-King, in stark contrast, represents servitude, shadow, and the relentless pursuit of control. Yet, even in their opposition, a meeting between them requires recognition of mutual limits, an unspoken acknowledgement that neither can entirely dominate the other. Such boundaries form the framework within which bargains are struck. Bargains in Tolkien's world are far more than transactions. They are sacred covenants with weighty consequences. The broken vow of Feanor, the oath of the men of the House of Hador, and the binding agreements between elves and dwarves all echo this theme. Each bargain carries a price, often hidden or delayed, and the breach of such agreements brings ruin not only upon individuals, but upon entire peoples. When Tom Bombadil and the Witch-King met, their exchange must have navigated this complex moral landscape. Bombadil's freedom and joy are contingent upon the maintenance of natural order, which the Witch-King's shadow threatens to unravel. Yet Bombadil's lack of desire for power makes him unlikely to wield his influence coercively. Instead, his bargain would hinge on restraint, a plea for limits within the Witch-King's advancing darkness. For the Witch-King, bound as he is by Sauron's will and the ring's power, any bargain would carry the burden of servitude. To acknowledge Bombadil's power might mean conceding a frontier beyond his dominion, a tacit recognition that even the shadow has boundaries. Such a concession is not without tragedy. It reveals the limitations of seemingly absolute power, and foreshadows the eventual unraveling of dark designs. This chapter also reflects on the tragic costs borne by all parties in such bargains. The Witch-King's servitude is itself a price, an eternal loss of self and freedom. Bombadil's price, if any, might be subtle, perhaps a burden of vigilance, or a quiet acceptance of the world's ongoing conflicts beyond his borders. The parley is a fragile truce, balancing light and shadow on a knife's edge. The nature of these bargains also points to a larger theme in Tolkien's work: the tension between fate and free will. While cosmic forces shape the world's destiny, individual choices within these bargains reflect personal agency and moral responsibility. This interplay imbues the secret meeting with both grandeur and intimacy. As we close this chapter, the quiet aftermath of such bargains emerges as a critical thread. Consequences that ripple unseen yet enduring. What shifts occurred in the balance of power? How did these agreements shape the paths of these beings and the lands they influence? We now turn to explore the settings where these subtle energies echoed: the Old Forest and Barrow Downs, places intertwined with Bombadil's realm and their lingering resonance. We turn now from the abstract realm of bargains and boundaries to the very earth itself. To the Old Forest and the Barrow Downs, landscapes thick with history and mystery, intimately tied to Tom Bombadil's presence, and perhaps to the echoes of his secret meeting with the Witch-King. These places serve as liminal spaces, thresholds where the natural world and shadow meet, where time blurs and ancient powers quietly stir. The Old Forest, ancient beyond reckoning, is a living testament to the wild, untamed essence that Bombadil embodies. Here, trees are not mere plants, but sentient guardians, holding memories in their roots and songs in their branches. The forest breathes with a rhythm that defies the usual flow of time, a place where travelers may lose their way or find themselves anew. Bombadil's voice is said to command this wildness, calming dangers and weaving harmony among all creatures within. The forest's very atmosphere is thick with layers of meaning. It is both sanctuary and trial, a realm where nature asserts sovereignty, but also tests those who enter. The mysterious old man willow, the whispering winds, and the shifting paths all hint at a world alive with power and intent. This landscape embodies the tension between freedom and peril, a mirror to Bombadil's paradoxical nature. Nearby lie the Barrow Downs, ancient burial mounds that resonate with darker energies. These haunted hills are a stark contrast to the Old Forest's vibrant life, filled with memories of death, forgotten kings, and lingering shadows. The Barrow Wights, malevolent spirits that inhabit these tombs, are remnants of a past tainted by greed and violence, echoes of broken bargains and lost legacies. Their presence underscores the fragility of order and the persistent threat of corruption. Together, the Old Forest and Barrow Downs form a spiritual geography that frames Bombadil's realm as a borderland between creation and decay, light and shadow. These places may have witnessed the subtle ripples of the secret meeting, where forces of nature and darkness acknowledged one another in quiet accord. This chapter also explores how Tolkien uses setting and atmosphere to deepen thematic resonance. The textures of these terrains, their sounds, smells, and moods, are not mere backdrop. but active participants in the unfolding story. They shape memory and meaning, holding secrets that only the patient listener can discern. As the energies of nature and shadow mingle in these spaces, the question arises: how do physical places bear the marks of metaphysical events? What relics or signs might remain as testament to the meeting's quiet power? These threads lead us naturally toward a focus on the artifacts tied to both Bombadil and the Witch-King, objects charged with legacy and consequence. The next chapter will explore the relics and shadows, the tangible echoes of power that survive beyond fleeting words and rituals. From the living landscapes of the old forest and the haunted Barrow Downs, we now turn our attention to the tangible remnants of power. The relics and artifacts that carry the weight of history, magic, and consequence. In Tolkien's Middle-earth, such objects are far more than mere possessions. They are vessels of legacy, burden, and the ongoing struggle between light and shadow. This chapter explores the significance of these artifacts in relation to Tom Bombadil and the Witch-King of Angmar, and how they embody the subtle echoes of their secret meeting. Among the most iconic relics is the One Ring itself, a singular object of unparalleled power, forged to dominate all others and ensnare the wills of kings and creatures alike. The ring's dark influence extends even to the Witch-King, binding him irrevocably to Sauron's will and twisting his fate. Its malevolent presence embodies corruption, loss, and the insatiable hunger for control. The ring is both a weapon and a prison, a paradox that defines much of the conflict in Middle-earth. Contrasting the ring's shadowed legacy are the lesser-known, enigmatic artifacts associated with Tom Bombadil and his domain. While Tolkien offers few explicit descriptions, hints and interpretations suggest that Bombadil's power may be connected to relics of a different nature. Items imbued with the essence of the land, relics that resonate with creation rather than destruction. These could include ancient stones, the old forest's timeless trees, or even the songs that function as living relics, carrying the memory and order of the world. The interplay between these artifacts reflects the broader cosmic balance, relics of shadow and light, domination and freedom, binding and release. The meeting between Bombadil and the Witch-King may have involved an exchange or acknowledgement of these powers, a subtle negotiation encoded in symbols and tokens rather than spoken words. This chapter also considers the broader role of artifacts in Tolkien's narrative, from the elven rings of power to the shards of Narsil, and how they serve as focal points of history, magic, and fate. Each relic is a nexus where story and symbolism converge, carrying stories of hope, betrayal, and sacrifice. We are invited to reflect on how physical objects hold memory and meaning beyond their material form, becoming touchstones for deeper truths. The lingering question remains: what relics bear witness to the secret meeting? What signs remain hidden, waiting to be rediscovered by those who listen closely? As we close this chapter, the weight of legacy and consequence presses gently upon us, foreshadowing the costs that emerge after such parley. The next chapter will explore these subtle aftermaths, the quiet but profound consequences of the meeting's bargains. Having traced the secret meeting's context, language, and artifacts, we now turn to its aftermath, the subtle but enduring ripples that spread through Middle-earth's history. This chapter explores the quiet consequences born not in grand battles or loud proclamations, but in the shifting balances and unseen threads that shape fate's course. It is in these soft echoes that the true impact of the encounter between Tom Bombadil and the Witch-King reveals itself. Though the meeting was shrouded in mystery and silence, its effects likely influenced the interplay of power between light and shadow, in ways both direct and indirect. For Bombadil, the bargain may have reinforced his role as guardian of the old forest and surrounding lands, deepening the boundaries that even the Witch-King's shadow dared not cross. This preservation of natural order is a subtle victory, one that wards off entropy's creeping grasp and safeguards life's quiet rhythms. For the High Witch-King, the parley might have marked a begrudging acknowledgement of limits, a rare recognition that his dark mandate met boundaries inscribed not by mortal law, but by primordial force. This concession is both a strategic restraint and a tragic symbol of power's inherent imperfection. Despite his vast shadow, the Witch-King's reach was not absolute, hinting at fissures within the seemingly monolithic power of Sauron. This chapter also examines how these ripples manifest beyond the immediate actors, influencing the lands, peoples, and histories touched by their legacies. The fragile peace in the northern kingdoms, the endurance of wild places, and the persistence of hope amid growing darkness all bear traces of this hidden dialogue. Such quiet resilience reminds us that not all histories are forged in grand gestures. Some are nurtured in whispered agreements and unseen boundaries. We also consider the theme of consequence in Tolkien's wider mythos, how every action, no matter how small or secret, contributes to the unfolding destiny of Arda. This layered causality imbues the world with depth and complexity, inviting ongoing reflection on fate, choice, and moral cost. As the chapter closes, we are left with a sense of mature contemplation, an invitation to hold these subtle consequences with respect and patience, recognizing that the quiet moments often carry the heaviest burdens and the deepest wisdom. Our next chapter will draw these threads toward convergence, exploring how the intertwined destinies of Bombadil and the Witch-King reflect broader themes in Middle-earth's epic tapestry. As we move further along the journey, it is time to pause and reconsider the histories we thought familiar, allowing new insights from the secret meeting between Tom Bombadil and the Witch-King to gently reshape our understanding. This chapter invites a perspective shift, a quiet but profound re-examination of familiar stories through the lens of subtle interactions and hidden complexities. Traditional tales of Middle-earth often frame the Witch-King as a straightforward villain, an agent of unrelenting darkness, while Tom Bombadil is cast as a benign, even whimsical figure outside the central conflicts. Yet, the possibility of their secret parley challenges these neat divisions, suggesting a richer interplay of motives, limits, and shared histories. By revisiting key moments and characters with this new context, we see how seemingly isolated events gain fresh meaning. For instance, Bombadil's refusal to engage with the ring's power takes on greater weight as an act of resistance not only to domination, but also to the creeping shadow represented by the Witch-King. Likewise, the Witch-King's recognition of Bombadil's domain hints at vulnerabilities and internal tensions within the forces of darkness. This chapter also explores the nature of historical narrative itself, how stories are shaped by perspective, omission, and the layering of myth over fact. Tolkien's legendarium, while richly detailed, leaves gaps and ambiguities that invite such reinterpretations. Here, we acknowledge the limitations of certainty and embrace the complexity of layered truths. The perspective shift deepens our appreciation of the thematic tensions running through Middle-earth. Freedom versus servitude, nature versus corruption, and the enduring struggle to balance power with wisdom. This reframing encourages a more nuanced engagement with characters and events, revealing the subtle dance of fate and choice that underpins the grand epic. As this chapter closes, it gently opens a path toward integration, bringing together the threads of conflict, covenant, and consequence into a reflective understanding that honors ambiguity and depth. Next, we will approach the convergence of these themes in the final chapters, drawing toward a resolution that offers mature insight rather than simple closure. As we approach the culmination of this journey, we witness the convergence of light and shadow, the intertwining destinies of Tom Bombadil and the Witch-King of Angmar. Not as a clash of extremes, but as a delicate balance that shapes the fate of Middle-earth. This chapter invites a calm reflection on how these forces, seemingly opposed, coalesce into a greater harmony that sustains the world's ongoing story. Throughout our exploration, we have seen Bombadil's rootedness in the natural order, and the Witch-King's embodiment of shadow and servitude. Their secret meeting is not merely an isolated event, but a symbolic ritual affirming boundaries, limits, and the mutual recognition of roles within a cosmic pattern. This balance is fragile, maintained through quiet negotiation and unspoken understanding. The convergence reveals that light and shadow are interdependent, one defines the other, and both are necessary within the world's unfolding. Bombadil's freedom highlights the Witch-King's bondage, while the Witch-King's shadow underscores the preciousness of life and order Bombadil protects. This interplay suggests a dynamic equilibrium, where neither force can fully extinguish the other. This chapter also reflects on the personal and political dimensions of this balance. The Witch-King's campaigns of terror and the resilience of Bombadil's domain represent the broader conflict between domination and preservation. Yet, their parley hints at a shared acknowledgement that the world requires both boundaries and freedoms, order and entropy, to endure. We consider how this balance manifests in the landscapes, histories, and legacies we have explored. From the old forest's breathing wildness to the haunted Barrow Downs, from relics imbued with power to the quiet ripples of aftermath. Each thread weaves into the fabric of this cosmic dance. As the chapter closes, we are invited to hold this delicate balance with reverence and patience, recognizing that Middle-earth's story is not one of simple triumph or defeat, but of enduring tension and harmony. As our journey nears its close, we pause to reflect on the enduring lessons and quiet legacies born from the secret meeting between Tom Bombadil and the Witch-King of Angmar. This chapter invites a gentle contemplation of how their encounter, though shrouded in mystery and subtlety, imparts wisdom about power, restraint, and the shaping of history. One key lesson emerges clearly. True power is not always loud or forceful. Bombadil's strength lies in his rootedness and freedom from desire, a quiet sovereignty that defies domination. In contrast, the Witch-King's power is vast but bound, a shadow cast by servitude and loss. Their meeting teaches us that power's quality matters as much as its quantity. That legacy is forged not only in conquest, but in stewardship and balance. The chapter explores how this quiet power influences Middle-earth's unfolding story. Bombadil's preservation of natural order provides a bulwark against entropy and chaos, demonstrating the importance of guardianship, grounded in humility and harmony. The Witch-King's tragic fate warns of the costs of unchecked ambition and the dangers of losing oneself to darkness. This reflection extends to the broader theme of legacy. How actions ripple through time, often in unseen ways, shaping futures in subtle but profound manners. The meeting's consequences, though not always visible, continue to echo in the lands and histories we know. We also consider the spiritual dimension of legacy in Tolkien's world, the bonds between beings, the sacredness of oaths and bargains, and the enduring presence of hope amidst shadow. The meeting exemplifies these themes, revealing that even in moments of tension, there can be respect and recognition. As our journey draws gently to a close, we return reflectively to the secret meeting between Tom Bombadil and the Witch-King of Angmar, considering its place within the vast, ongoing song of Middle-earth. This final chapter invites calm meditation on how this quiet moment, though veiled in mystery, weaves into the tapestry of history, myth, and meaning that defines Tolkien's world. Throughout our exploration, we have traced the meeting's context, mechanisms, consequences, and lessons, each chapter a thread contributing to a richer understanding of the delicate balance between freedom and bondage, nature and shadow. This convergence reveals that Middle-earth's story is not one of simple binaries, but a complex interplay where even the smallest moments carry profound significance. This chapter situates the meeting as a quiet but pivotal note within the grand symphony. A reminder that history is shaped not only by great battles or heroic deeds, but also by subtle acts of recognition, restraint, and dialogue. The parley between Bombadil and the Witch-King stands as a testament to the layered complexity of power and the enduring tension that sustains the world's harmony. We reflect on the meeting's emotional resonance, a quiet elegy for lost identities, unyielding wills, and the price of eternal roles. Its place in Middle-earth's song is both mournful and hopeful, acknowledging the costs of fate while affirming the persistence of life and freedom. The chapter closes with a soft invitation to carry these reflections gently forward, honoring the balance they reveal, and remaining open to the many stories yet to be heard in Middle-earth's unfolding tale. This quiet closure resists dramatic finality, instead offering a space for patient listening and thoughtful presence. Finally, a subtle nod gestures toward adjacent stories. The continuing struggles of shadow and light, the fate of the rings of power, and the ever-unfolding journey of the free peoples. These stories await the curious and the calm-hearted alike, ready to sing their own quiet songs